we gotta talk about Sam Levinson, The Weeknd, and the Idol drama, right? So I know that I've mentioned a couple of times during the last couple of months what's been going on with this show. Basically, they had shot the majority of it. I think there was like 70% of it was like done. And then it was halted because of creative differences. So the person, a woman who actually was directing it, had stepped away from it. Sam Levinson, who if I know all of you guys know from Euphoria, he was the executive producer or a producer on the show, and then he ended up taking over as director. After that whole situation, I was like, okay, that's weird. They dropped a trailer with no release date. And as of now, there still isn't a release date of when this show will debut on HBO. So Rolling Stone, I guess, did an investigation on what was happening with that, because it's not unusual that your production might halt or something, but it's kind of unusual when most of it is done for all of it to be reshot and stuff, unless something serious has gone down. So I guess that's why the investigation ensued. But Rolling Stone reported that there was that the production had suffered constant delays, reshoots, and rewrites. And this is after I'll just call him The Weeknd. The Weeknd said that the show was heading too much into a female perspective, and the original director, Amy Seismitz, abruptly exited. So then Sam Levinson signed on for it. The show's premise drastically shifted into something production sources said was offensive, liking the new version to a rape fantasy. So they had interviewed 13 close sources on their production who said that it was messy. It was like an entire disaster. However the show was going before completely shifted into something crazy and different. After this happened, they got responses, right? They got responses from Abel. Abel posted, I guess, an exclusive clip of the show, basically coming at Rolling Stone saying it was irrelevant, basically. And then Lily Rose Depp was like, Sam Levinson is the best director I've ever worked with, and I feel very seen and heard and valued by him, and blah, blah, blah. And HBO was like, no, the show is great. It's fine. Everything's working out exactly how, even though there's some issues, like it's still going to plan. It's working. It's great. And Sam Levinson, again, amongst all this controversy, has been silent, like he always is whenever there's controversy about any of the things that he touches. How I feel about this, thank you for asking. Listen, I've never trusted Sam Levinson. I think that everything that he's done has been extremely exploitative. The only thing that he's produced on screen that's felt honest is his depiction of drug abuse, because that was his experience. Other than that, though, I feel like everything that he's done on Euphoria, especially with Cassie's character, with Kat's character, all of the characters really, but like those two specifically, because we're likening it to what's going on the Idol, where it was supposed to be about a woman finding her freedom and sexuality. Every time those subjects come in and he's in charge of it, yeah, I could have told you from jump that it was going to be a mess, because I feel like Sam, and this is allegedly, I feel like he is trying to like fulfill his own fantasies through these characters. And so you'll see them in very weird, compromising positions, because that's what he wants to show. He wants to get into this kind of whatever kinks and stuff that he's into, like that's going to be on there. Like I was interested in watching at least the first episode. I wasn't really that interested in watching the show, mainly because of Abel. Like I don't think he's an actor, but like I was going to watch the first episode. A woman was going to be in charge of it. You were going to get it from a woman's perspective. And I feel like it would have been handled better, but now it's handled by Sam Levinson of all people. So it's like, yeah, no. And Abel trying to jump into it and try to make the show about him. It's like, dude, no, the narcissism is just wild. And HBO obviously isn't going to do anything about this because, one, they have a deal with The Weeknd. Like I think one of his concerts is on their streaming platform right now, so they're not going to do anything. And two, they're not going to do anything because Sam Levinson brings in money, and that's all they care about. So like, he could do whatever he wanted to do on that show, and HBO would have been like, yeah, it's fine. It's all good. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I was watching a podcast, And it's more so a podcast about editors and for editors, and they were talking with the editors of Euphoria,
Mhm.
and all the editors, and I sympathize with this because I understand this perfectly, and they were talking about the creative process as far as Euphoria is, why it feels the way it does, and they
Mhm.
were saying that Sam is not a person who's gonna over direct or overwrite or say anything. What Sam wants in a lot of his projects is emotion, and for an editor, that's amazing because and you could see something, and you could when I'm putting together when I'm editing stuff, I could see, all right, this take from the actor gives this emotion that plays well with this. You're able to ride the wave of emotion like that, and I feel like it for Sam that goes beyond the editing, the post product. I think that's his whole directorial and writing process. He's gonna give the bare minimum as far as direction, and he just wants emotion and vibes. I do feel like directing and leading a cast, especially with this quadri of people with involved in this project, was not his strength. So that's why a lot of people on the crew and stuff say this is probably unprofessional. It's a shit show. And Lily Rose is not going to say anything negative about him because this is like her first time working with a really big director. So she's not gonna like destroy her career at that moment. The weekend's kind of on a he's kind of on the upward side of his career where he's at the precipice. So any shots at any project that he's involved in, he's gonna take a shot at him. Like he over exaggerates a lot of stuff, and I think that's to his detriment as a creator because he is really really talented. Like the emotion, the visual side is really amazing, but I do think he kind of gets. I think Sam needs somebody who can keep him in balance.
I think Sam Levinson is a hack, and I also think that like he has an obsession with a certain kind of woman that he wants to portray on screen. But I do think that he doesn't. He has a very serious issue with knowing how to portray women accurately.
Yeah,
Like if you think about like when I think about the best of Euphoria, it's actually Jules' special. So like when they were on the hiatus because of COVID or whatever, and they had those two specials with Rue and Jules. Jules' episode was so good because one, Hunter Schafer was co-writing it with him about her experience as a trans person.
yeah,
And that was excellent. Emotional, visually stunning. Obviously, he has a great cinematographer who he works with, Marcel. It was a very powerful episode. And then you get to second season, and it's like all of that character development, all of that thing that you just saw not a couple months earlier is gone because again he wants to run the show, and
yeah.
you have someone like him and then Abel, who I think Abel is a really good musician. I think that he's probably a good friend, but in terms of how he treats women, garbage, absolute garbage person. So like you have two of those people who doesn't seem like they really respect women in the way that they should, or at least know how to articulate that through music or through film. Like you have both of those two people together, nah, it's not going to be good. Like it's not going to be good. Obviously, Lily Rose isn't going to say anything because like this is the biggest ticket that she's gotten so far. Like it's the only thing that's been able to distinguish her from her parents and the boys that she's dated. So like I get it, but in terms of both of them and what they're going to make, like I just don't. I would not trust a story like this in their hands, not at all.
And I think I want to say Harvey, Sam
Ooh,
has
ooh, not the Harvey.
I
Oh God.
apologize. He lives
Ooh.
out his kinks and fetishes and his
Mm-hmm.
properties to
Right.
a ridiculous degree. That I will admit to.
Mm-hmm.
So we say art is therapy, but I do think he
Go to
might actually
therapy.
need to actually talk to somebody because I think there's still serious issues
Mm-hmm.
that from his youth and his issues with drug addiction and alcohol that he's still as a almost 40-year-old person still trying to comprehend and understand, which is also why a
Right.
lot of his projects tend to be focused absurdly heavily on sexualized young women,
Mm-hmm.
so
Yes, therapy's answer. Like if you read like what he was intending to do with this, having Lily Rose character beg to be assaulted, Like, come on, dude. Like, what in your mind would even make you think, like, let me even put this on paper?
Yeah.
I can't even fathom why you would think that would be okay to even write down.
You know, I was saying, even if it's an actual fetish some people have, there are certain things you don't cross a line and portray and make acceptable, because you can have craziest, weirdest people say, oh, there are people who have a rape fetish or kink, and there are people who think that gives them carte blanche to commit those acts on people who are not willing to engage in those kind of things consensually, you know.
There is a lot of young people who are called Puritans or puritanical, and they don't want like any sex or any whatever on screen. I wouldn't go that far. I feel like sex is a part of life. Like you can depict it accurately and respectfully. What I think crosses a line, and what I think maybe we shouldn't accept as normal, is these fetishes that are extremely like something like this, where it's like you have rape fantasies and stuff like that. Like, I think you should talk to someone about that. Like, that's not okay to me. Like, if you've actually been a victim of that kind of abuse, I don't know why anyone would think that it would be okay to even romanticize or whatever that type of behavior. Like, it's not okay. And I think we overcorrect when we're talking about sexuality, sexual liberation, stuff like that. I think because it's been something that's been very oppressed in the past, we're overcorrecting by saying, oh no, all of this is acceptable. And it's like, no, you have to draw a line somewhere, because these types of things that are actually happening to people are traumatizing them for the rest of their life. Like, it's not like a fun little thing to spice up your like sex life. I don't think that that's okay. I think you really need to talk to someone about that. And if this is me being judgy, sorry, this is just how I feel about it. Yeah, I don't know what this show is going to be. Again, there's no release date, so we don't even know when it's coming out. But I don't think I'll be watching it.
Did you like that clip? Well, you can listen to the entire podcast, because the 16mm Film Crew podcast is available on all major podcast platforms.